As Elaine has alluded to, I'm the Chief Executive for the UK Material Handling Association. We represent the interests of the forklift truck industry, and I'm joined today by Andy Cartwright, who is the Technical Manager at Mentor. Andy's going to do much of the heavy lifting today, or as you probably say in your industry, the shunting during today's session. But before I begin, I'd like to thank Elaine, who's obviously just left the room, and her team at the Rail Forum for inviting us to speak. It's a real delight to be here. So, why for the first session are we focusing on material handling equipment? The answer is simple. The humble forklift truck is omnipresent. Whether it's in stores and warehouses, lifting line-side kit or moving containers, mechanical handling is a key part of operations, and with it comes a degree of risk. We just completed our own safety event, which provided a crucial opportunity for our sector to pause, reflect, and focus on operational and site safety. In a nutshell, National Forklift Safety Day aims to promote the importance of forklift safety across all sectors. We do this by encouraging proactive measures to reduce accidents and injuries. We share industry-related safety protocols, including regular equipment checks, safe driving techniques, and site-specific risk assessments. Equally important is the education of those who work alongside material handling equipment. It's imperative they appreciate the risks and know how to keep themselves, their colleagues, and their workplace safe. We actively encourage workplace culture where safety is a shared responsibility, one where there is an openness to communicate concerns and learn from each incident. It's an ambitious goal, but we want to be a key contributor to reducing forklift accidents in the UK. Now, if you take away 2 points from my part of today's session, firstly, I would ask that you visit the National Forklift Safety Day website. There's tons of assets, lots of information, and lots of really good content to engage with. And the second is the second to last point, where we have launched a new incident reporting portal, and I really encourage you to get involved with that as well. The incident reporting portal is not a whistleblowing platform. It's a confidential way to share experiences, and it will help us identify measurable improvements in safety. Currently, there's a significant gap in reliable national data on material handling related accidents. And without your input, and that from our own industry, we're missing a crucial piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Together, we can make the strides we need to reduce accidents and hopefully save lives. Thank you very much, and now I'd like to hand over to Andy.
Good morning, all. Oh, sorry. Trying not to deafen anyone. Okay. First of all, I just wanted to reiterate what Rob said. Just massive thanks for inviting us to speak today. So, my name's Andy Cartwright then. I'm the Technical Manager for Mentor FLT Training. In terms of health and safety, I'm a Chartered Fellow of IOSH. I'm also a Fellow of the Institute of Industrial Risk Safety Managers. I've been teaching operating forklift trucks for the best part of 30 years since I come out of the military. I know I don't actually look that old, so thanks, I'll take that on board. So, what we're going to cover today then is we're going to have a look at the 3 elements of training. Okay, and I just want to start off by doing something very sort of un-British, eh? Who thought you'd get participant involvement so early in the day? So what I want you to do is just think about, because what you might actually find is within your businesses, you may already be doing the 3 stages of training. So can I just have a show of hands if you are actually doing the 3 stages of training within your businesses if you're using lift trucks? It just proves you've come to the right talk then. Absolutely fantastic. But I am going to reiterate that by saying you actually may already be doing these elements, but not actually realising that you're doing them or not actually separating them down. So we'll go through them step by step now so you can actually understand what the 3 stages are, and then you can take that away and start implementing that into your own businesses. Okay. So Like we say, there are three essential elements of training. Where do these three essential elements come from? They don't come from me, they don't come from Rob. What they actually come from is a document called L117. Okay? It's an approved code of practice, and it's put together by the Health and Safety Executive. And again, it's a free download. Download it. It's a massive source of information. Again, so you've got people that are doing training, doing trucks on your site in particular environments. This is the document that you need. So the first element we're going to have a look at then is what we call basic training. Okay. Now, in reality, this is probably something that everybody's actually doing on their sites. I mean, who in the audience actually uses lift trucks, or you got lift trucks working on your site? Yeah, a few. Brilliant. Okay. And when we're talking about lift trucks, we're talking about rider-operated lift trucks. So you could also be talking about things like telehandlers, telescopic equipment, that kind of stuff. So what does basic training need to include? Essentially, it's the basic skills and knowledge required to operate a lift truck safely and efficiently. Fairly straightforward, yeah? But it must cover certain things. It must cover the actual lift truck itself. It must give the operator the skills and knowledge to operate that piece of equipment safely and efficiently. And it also must cover the handling attachment that the operator's using. Okay? So people just naturally think if it's a forklift truck, it's going to have a set of forks on it. But you may be in an environment where you don't use forks. You may use clamps, real clamps. You may use other pieces of lifting equipment, again, depending on your industry. What must it also include? It must also include any associated risks that come with operating that truck in your environment. Now, that may seem quite basic, and I want it to seem very basic because realistically this is a set of training that most people are doing. I want to spend more time covering the elements that we found that a lot of people don't actually cover, which is the specific job and the familiarisation. So when we look at what we call specific job, okay, what it actually covers is the knowledge and understanding of the operating principles and controls of the lift truck to be used. Okay? Because what you may find is that your operators may go away to a training centre or they may go away to another site and be trained on a different truck. So when they actually come back to your site, they may find they've been trained on, let's say, a Lindy or something. They're coming back to your site and they're going to be working on a Caterpillar or another model. Okay? So they need to know how to use those controls. Also, they're going to have to understand how it will be used in their workplace. So how is that truck going to be used? What's it going to be used for? And if you notice the key word there, it says their workplace, T-H-E-I-R, there. That means the individual that's actually using the piece of equipment. Also, when we're looking at a specific job, it needs to be tailored to the employer's needs. Okay? So what do you need your operator to do on that particular piece of equipment when they're operating it in their work environment? And that can include a number of different things. So it could include use of the actual lift truck itself. How's that going to be operated? What attachments are they going to be using on that truck? Is it a different attachment from the training they've had? Inspections and maintenance. What's your inspection procedure? What's your maintenance? What are they required to do? You know, different site might have different rules. The individual might have been trained on, let's say, looking after a lead-acid battery. They come to your site, they've got a lithium-ion battery. What's the difference between the two? Is it an autofill system? How are they going to be covering that? Anything to do with site policy or rules. Where can they operate? Can they go near lines? Can they go near inspection pits? What's the safe distances they need to be operating? Also, training in, like I say, in specific policies, say systems of work, what's necessary on your site. Correct operation of the machine. And lastly, and one of the most important things, is key control and containment. What's your key control policy on site? What's your containment policy? Do the keys get signed out? Who looks after them? Is it an auto system like a Davis Derby or another system like that, or a tracker? Or is it a coded system? And how do you control that? And again, and when we're talking about specific attachments, again, certain things, again, within your industry, sort of wheel lifting frames. So again, these might be something that the individual operators have got to lift. Have they got to lift bogie lifting equipment, track equipment? Do they have to be familiar in road rail use, or is it just purely road use? And again, if you have got an operator and they are starting to use these different attachments, what sort of training are you putting in place? Are you doing conversion training for them, so they're converting from one piece of attachment to another? And are you putting some kind of test in place at the end of it? Because you need to confirm that that individual can safely operate that truck and can operate it with that attachment. And then the third stage of training I want to have a look at is what we call familiarisation. Now, this is the one that a lot of people always get confused with, and the reason being it's purely down to the wording, familiarisation. Okay? So, if somebody says to you, I want you to be familiarised on something, what do you think they mean? Basic training? Okay. Yeah. So, also it can be going from one thing to another thing, can't it? So, if you'd always driven a Ford car, and all of a sudden someone gives you a Vauxhall, you might want a bit of familiarisation from the dealer. This control does that, these gears are that, okay? Unfortunately, when we start looking at lift truck trainings, a lot of people don't understand that when we start looking at familiarisation, the HSE has actually quantified what familiarisation is. So because the HSE has actually quantified what familiarisation is, they've actually set out what needs to be covered in it. And you're all... Stephen, isn't it? Thanks for answering the question. And literally, if you think about familiarisation, most people would automatically think, well, that's site-specific because I'm familiarising from that bit of attachment for that. But like I say, that's job-specific. When we're talking about familiarisation, familiarisation must take place actually on the job. Okay? When we talk about basic training specific job, they take place off the job. So familiarisation then. What you're doing with familiarisation is applying what has been learned under normal working conditions, and you're then doing that physically on the job. So it's on the job training. Where's it going to take place? It's going to take place, like we said, on the job and under close supervision. Well, who's going to carry out that supervision? Who's the best people to carry out that supervision? Realistically, the best people to carry out that supervision and that training are the people within your business, because they know your site, your rules, your trucks, and what you're actually using them for. Okay? But it's got to be someone with appropriate knowledge, and it could be described as someone who's competent. And then again, it's relate that to, how do you quantify someone that's competent? And again, a lot of people go back to that terminology of SCAPE, don't they? They've got skill, knowledge, ability, training, and experience. I like to say, normally that's going to be someone from within your business. Also, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be applying the skills and become familiar with your activities. So if your activities are loading rails onto the back of a flatbed vehicle 3 times a day, that realistically isn't going to be something that they do in basic training. That's where you want them to be doing that on the job. So they're physically doing that. They can get aware of time restraints, vehicle movements, and all of these things that you've already covered. Now you're actually physically putting it into practice, but someone's watching them. And like we say, it's anything that's not possible off the job. So that could be just things like, distances from overhead live electrical cables. Do you need overhead live electrical isolation if you're operating near these cables or operating within certain areas or moving products around? Or it could also be site-specific PPE. You may have certain areas within your workplace that need site-specific PPE. Combustibles, again, it could be spraying, it could be quite a number of things. So one of the questions we always get asked is why is it necessary to do all 3 stages of training? Well, there's been a couple of surveys carried out, and what they've actually found is in the first 6 months, a new worker is as likely to have an accident in the first 6 months at the workplace or in a new job as they are in their entire working life. Okay? It's a new environment, it's new people, they're moving around, it's new equipment. So put that then onto someone that's just learnt to drive a lift truck. Okay? They may have been a pedestrian walking around, now all of a sudden they're driving this machine that could weigh 2, 3, 5, 20, 30, 40 tonnes, depending on the make, model, and what it's actually used for. Okay? When they go through doorways, they're not used to looking at doorways, they're looking at used to that level. Is there gas pipes, water pipes, fire mains, all of these things they need to be aware of. And like I said, a new starter is 3.5 times more likely to have an accident than someone that's been employed for over 5 years within your business. Okay? And that's, like I say, that's a report that's been put together by the HSE. So again, it's just thinking about, we need to make sure that those individuals that are actually trained and they do the basic training, they then go on to do those further 2 stages. And like we say, What's it required under? It's actually required under L117, the approved code of practice. And again, if anybody's looking, or does everybody understand what an approved code of practice is and the unique legal status that it's got? Absolutely fantastic. And like I say, if you haven't got a copy of this document, again, please download it, have a look at it, and get all that information out of it. So what's it going to give you in your business then by carrying out the 3 stages of training? It's going to give you reduced risk of accidents and serious injuries within the business. It's going to reduce the ability or the potential for you to get fines and prosecutions for non-compliance. And we've seen with a number of businesses that we've worked with and people we've spoken to, it's going to reduce costly damage and disruption to the business. You know, if you think somebody knocks down a set of racking, what's that kind of disruption going to be within your business? How long is that going to take? The accident investigation, you know, have you got people got to go to hospital, have you got to clean up, you can't store stuff, and then you start looking at all of those sort of bits of disruption. And like we said earlier, who can deliver the training? Well, realistically, when we're looking at basic training, the people that can deliver it are going to be training companies, or you may have your own in-house instructor, okay, that can deliver that basic training. When we come on to the next 2 stages, when we start talking about specific job and familiarisation, who's going to be delivering that? That's going to be you. People within your business delivering it to your employees, okay? Yeah, I can come in and deliver it, absolutely fantastic, but I don't know your site, I don't know your products, yeah? So you're best to have your people delivering that. Same as if you're getting a risk assessment, isn't it? If you're doing a risk assessment, who do you get involved? The people that are actually physically doing the task and the job. So again, just make sure, you know, all your processes and safe systems of work are in place when we're looking at operating lift trucks within your business. Make time for all 3 elements. And again, you may find that you're actually covering all 3 elements, but they're not specified out. So you may be doing basic training and actually integrating a bit of specific job and a bit of familiarisation with it. So at least if you separate it out, what that enables you to do is that enables you to document and sign off each stage of training. So if there's any issues and any accidents on site, you can actually prove that all 3 stages of training have been physically carried out. And the last area I just want to touch on slightly is the manager's role. So again, think about what your responsibilities are in terms of, you know, people operating trucks. Confirm your operator standards and ensure all 3 stages of training are provided. And one of the biggest myths out there is there's such a thing as a forklift licence. Okay? There is no such thing as a forklift licence. Okay? There is no such thing as a universal forklift licence. So if anybody turns up with a forklift licence, there is no such thing. What they should turn up with is a certificate of basic operation. Okay? Restrict MHE access to authorised trained individuals only. What's your key control in place? Again, have you got key access? Are the numbers limited, or does everyone on site know it? Provide regular refresher training. And again, when we talk about refresher training, if you go back to our friend L117, there isn't a specific timescale set. It's recommended between 3 and 5 years, and there's various other sort of elements in there that say, you know, if someone's been off sick for a long time, you may want to consider refresher training. If they've had an accident or an incident, again, you may want to look at refresher training. And constantly monitor operating standards and review policies. Yeah? Are they still in line with everything? Has there been anything happen? Has there been an accident? Has something changed? Do you need to be aware of? Are you operating in, you know, explosive atmospheres? You know, so all of a sudden you want a truck that potentially is pyroban or something like that. So again, it's looking at all these things and just monitoring where the truck's being used. Has something changed within that environment? So in summary, then, like I say, follow those steps, and it will reduce the risk of accidents and injuries in your workplace. And just remember those 3 stages of training. And like I say, try and separate them out if you can. Try and not have them all together. Okay? Allows for much easier documentation. And it will benefit you, your business, and your staff. Thank you. Any questions? Or, I mean, we're around all day, so if anybody wants to come and grab us, we're more than happy to. Yeah, if anybody's got any, we'll do it with them, Brandon. Thank you. Thank you.